tonight's topic is how multinationals always fail in China, and then what they could do to win. And then there are a couple main takeaways from my personal observation. And then there are common pitfalls that these companies may fall into. For example, setting up a company in China as if they're setting up the same organization somewhere else, not like a startup, right? So they don't respond to market conditions very rapidly, and they may inherit a matrix structure where the China head don't have the real authority to make key decisions, big decisions. Also, they may just try it and then without much thoughts before they come to China, and then after they get some setbacks, they withdraw without a lot of perseverance. So all these are common pitfalls for the previous breed of multinational companies, especially in internet, software, and service space.
When you look at how Chinese are using mobile, they use mobile much more than they use in any Western country, really. And as they can do payments, they can do Meet, Chat, and WeChat, of course, is one of those large apps what they're using in their kind of daily life. But of course, there are hurdles for anybody who comes from the West. There is a firewall which just creates latencies, and so if you do real-time business, that clearly is a technical hurdle.
So we specialize in bringing international companies into China, and our biggest service is that we tell about 95% of them that they do not belong here. So to come into China, you need to have unfair advantage. And most companies that come to China do not have an unfair advantage. China is the second largest market in the world in terms of economy, but it's also the second largest market in the world in terms of venture capital, local investment. $20 to $30 billion US a year versus say 60 billion in the US. The second thing is 3 out of the 6 largest internet companies in the world by market cap are Chinese, and they run things like a walled garden. So there's very little real-time bidding. It's very difficult to monetize your advertisement, for example. It's very difficult to buy advertising sometimes, and it's also difficult to make money here.
Yeah, it's definitely a very unique market. When I came here first time, I saw that almost any company can be our client, which means that we can have a huge expansion here. The main issue is, of course, language. I would say language barrier is the main problem, which is why we actually employed a lot of local people. So we have a nice local team now, and we open a new office in Beijing also with the local guys. And I think this is the main issue here. All the rest, the Chinese people are very open for communication, for business, and if they recognize something as a good product, they will use it.
Our advice for international companies in coming over to China is to first to study the local environment, the rules closely, and talk to people who have been here for a long time. Also get the advice from people like the advisors and the consultants who have been familiar with this with the market and the local rules. Do the homework before you really start a China business.
We've gone through the mobile-only growth of China, which has been significant. Obviously, the largest populous mobile internet access on the planet, and now the country is running very aggressively into the Internet of Things. So everything is being connected, all hardware is being linked, and companies like Xiaomi are really pushing the boundaries with robotics as well, all being interconnected in our mobile ecosystem.
What we see from the iOS, the Apple's market here, it's been growing a lot. Since Q1 last year, the Chinese iOS market in terms of downloads has actually exceeded that of the US. So China is now the biggest market in terms of downloads. And that kind of downloads and users has actually also translated revenues. In Q1 this year, we saw that China iOS is now the number 2 country in the world. It overtook Japan to become number 2 in the position.
A lot of things that we're doing, so we are very close to like the Uber and Airbnb, right? And they themselves have come into China, right? And they're licking steps in China, and they're approaching it very differently from the companies of the past, right? And so we are also taking a page from that, learning from that, figuring out what's the best way to approach the China market. but not jumping in right into it, right? Because it's not something that you want to take on if you don't have the resiliency and the patience to do this over the long term, right? So figuring that out. At the same time, there's this immediate opportunity, which is working with all these companies. If you look at Airbnb, they're doing the exact same thing. Where there are Chinese tourists are going abroad, that's something that Airbnb can serve immediately. And we are going after that same segment of companies going abroad, right? And that's exactly what we're doing in China, right, at this point in time.
It's interesting. There's a lot of very powerful companies that are rising up and rising up from China. You know, Tencent with WeChat is a perfect example of a messaging company which has taken the world by storm and rose up from China and gets significant usage by all kinds of people, regardless of where they are in the world. They don't have to be in China to use it. And it's increasingly moving into a variety of other aspects more than just messaging and payments and advertising and social and travel and all different kinds of aspects. And so the opportunity here in China is not just the Chinese market and the people here in China and how big that market is and the opportunities that there are, but also some of the very interesting technology and some of the very interesting companies that come out of China from that.